Hi, everyone. Um, I was so excited to introduce Michelle today that I forgot to press record. So here I am trying to do something uncomfortable and re-record myself to make sure that all of you watching know who was leading our skill lab today. Marketing is always one of our most popular topics, especially for our skill labs. I think it's for a good reason. It's something that every business needs, but it also can be one of the hardest areas to keep consistent, especially when we're all trying to balance everything else that comes with running and growing a business. That's why Christy and I were super excited today to bring Michelle Miller, the president of Creativate, to lead today's session. We've had the opportunity to sit in on meetings with Michelle and her team and see firsthand how they work with clients, also how they think through strategy and the outcomes that they help create. They bring a very practical approach to marketing, and they're especially good at helping businesses turn ideas into system and consistent execution. So, Michelle, thanks for having been here for this incredible presentation. We were excited to have you walk us through how business owners and their teams can make email, social media, and content marketing more manageable and more effective. And with that, Michelle, take it away.
So we have quite a few things to talk through here today. And at any point, please jump into the chat. I know Aggie and Christy are going to be monitoring the chat, and I'm definitely more of a interactive type of person. So if you have questions as I'm talking through anything, please ask. If you have any, I don't proclaim to be the smartest person in the room. So if you have any cool ideas or anything cool that you've done, or any examples that you'd like to give or share, please, please, please share. I love hearing what other people are up to and what they're doing. So we're going to mainly be focusing today on overall content creation, but more specifically then how do we disseminate it through social media and through email. So what do we create? Trends we can follow, what's a plan you can keep. You'll hear me say a few times, I would rather see you do less and do it really well than do a ton of things poorly. And good marketing also just takes time. So I'd rather see something that is usable, executable. A plan that is way too ambitious or too crazy isn't even worth the paper that it's on because it's never going to get executed. So walking through that, how do we build content around relationships and humans? Because at the end of the day, that's who's absorbing all of the content and things that in our marketing efforts. And then where AI fits in. And then I saw Ryan's on here. Hi, Ryan. Shout out to Ryan from Boz. We are actually going to use them as an example of some of the content that we've created for them in the chaos. So, uh, is everybody in here right now a business owner or in leadership in some way, or have some type of responsibility for marketing for the most part? Okay, good. So, yeah, we're never short on ideas or short on things to do. I don't know about you, but I don't think I've ever had a day in my life where I've woken up and I've been like, gosh, what should I do today? I have just all this free time and I don't know what I'm going to do. But so we always have more ideas, and I'm guilty of this too. I'll take it to my team and I'm like, hey, here's 85 ideas. And so we always have more ideas and more things than we could do that we could and than we could ever execute. But the thing that I don't like to see is when I will be looking for potentially working with a company, or I'll be evaluating a client. And it's tragic when I go to any of their socials, for example, and I see that someone got hot like 3 years ago with social posting. They were posting like 3 times a week for 3 weeks, and then it just died. And then the only first impression that you have for your company on your social pages is this gung-ho effort with outdated content from 3 years ago. And that's the first impression that you're leaving when people go to vet you. Whether you are intentionally or unintentionally doing anything, it's still an impression. You're still making an impact. I was in a group last year, business development program. We're a certified woman-owned business. And I remember one of the ladies in the room mentioned, she's like, should I be posting on LinkedIn? I'm like, that's a great question. Should you be posting on LinkedIn? I was like, well, tell me more about your audience and all that other stuff. Turns out she had 30,000 followers on LinkedIn. And she's like, well, I just don't know if we should be sharing anything. I was like, whoa, time out. You had 30,000 people voluntarily hit the button that said, I want to follow you because I want updates from you and what you do. And you are not posting anything. Come on, like, let's go. It's time. So then they've already, fortunately for them, they've already identified like what's the best platform for us to be posting on. And they already have an audience that's sitting there just waiting to hear from them. But now what's important for them is as they start to roll out their content strategy, that they're putting out the right content, they're putting out the right things that will land. You need to set goals. We're going to get into all this, set goals around what it is that you'd like to do, what you'd like to accomplish. So same with emails. Emails are the same way. If you sit around, if you have marketing is one of those roles that sometimes it will get handed off fractionally to someone at your company. And then when it's handed off fractionally, it gets done when someone has time. And so then the email newsletters become less consistent. The email announcements don't become as consistent. Everything just kind of tapers off. So content, there's a lot of content that could be done. There's a lot of great ideas. How do we now take all of those things that are out there and actually put them into a plan? So let's dive right in. How do we know what we are going to create? So the first thing you have to do is start with purpose. What is your point of posting? I mean, I can't tell you how many people will tell me, well, we should be posting on blah, blah, blah. Well, why should you be doing anything? Why should you be posting on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, TikTok? Why should you be posting on all of those platforms? What are you looking to accomplish? Do you want to engage with a community you've already built? Are you looking for prospects? Are you looking for potential new customers? Are you looking to engage with existing customers? What is the point? Why are you doing this? So knowing whether it's going to be for brand awareness, whether you want to share thought leadership, promotion, additional engagement, team human content, you have to decide what it is and why you want to create it. And then you have to know where your audience is going to be sitting in that for that specific piece, those specific pieces of information. So ideal client profiles or ideal customer profiles, those are super important because those are going to be your guiding lights for vetting, and we're going to get into that in a minute, vetting and validating who you're talking to and why you're talking to them. So if you've decided, for example, that all of your prospects are, let's just say they are generally speaking, ages 55 and up. Let's say this is more of a B2C type of situation. They're probably going to be more likely to be on Facebook than TikTok, for example. So you have to know where they're going to be sitting. And then also what do you want them to do from viewing your content or engaging with your content? Do you want them to call you? Do you want them to book an appointment? Do you want them to schedule a consult? Do you want them to buy something? Do you want them to use the promotional code? What is it that you want to do? So you have to define that takeaway. And then creating the content only after the purpose is clear, not before. So otherwise you just end up with it looks like you literally took spaghetti, threw it against the wall, and anything that will stick is what we're going to be putting out there today. Now, I will say it is important to try some things. You never know if something's going to work unless you try. So yes, like we have best practices for things that typically we see perform better than others, but everybody's company is a little different. Everybody's audience is a little bit different. Everyone's industry is a little bit different. You got to know what sticks for you. We have another client that loves talking. She's in a very industrial space, which is so cool. It's industrial and tooling, and she loves unicorns and glitter. And you know what? That stands out for her and that works for her because that is true to who she is and it resonates with her company and people. It's a distinguishing factor for her. If that's not something that is going to resonate with you or your audience, then you can't do it. It has to be something that's done authentically. So when we start with purpose, um, you have to start and map out exactly what it is that you would like for them to do. You can't do all things at one time. So put everything into a bucket, whether it's brand awareness, is thought leadership, is it promotion, is it engagement, or are you featuring someone on your team and their accomplishments and things that they've done? Um, I also am a big fan of don't post or do something just because it's on your roadmap or calendar. If you don't think that content is strong, that piece of content is strong, don't put it out there. We get inundated with so many messages already that if you're putting out stuff that's half baked or you don't know for a fact that it resonates with either your company or the purpose or what it is that you're looking to accomplish, Don't put it out there. It's just more noise and it can actually do more harm than good. So definitely don't do that. I'm getting some chats popping up here. Yes, thank you, Aggie. Yep, no, no half-baked content. Um, so that's super important. So then what does posting with purpose actually mean? So purpose is about the job the content is doing, not necessarily the topic that it has to be about. So going back and labeling and taking the time to understand what it is exactly you're posting about and why, what is the content going to do for you? So rather than just saying, today it's Tuesday, I'm just going to post something willy-nilly, knowing that you are putting together a piece of content that has something to do with a bigger picture. It could be a campaign, it could be a product launch, it could be some other type of rollout. That's super important to make sure you have that defined right out of the gate. So what do we want them to do? Again, everything has to be very, very driven. And it's fun to post like cute videos and stuff, but if you're doing that and you don't have an actual goal or it's not resonating with who you are as a company or what your audience is, if you can't put that purpose in there, then the content isn't ready to go. All right, thought leadership. Has everybody heard of thought leadership? And it's okay if you haven't. It's a word that can get a little bit, or phrase that can get a little bit overused or abused, in my opinion, at times, because everybody wants to be a thought leader in their industry. But basically, especially when you think about the relationship between marketing and sales, thought leadership is something that feels very neutral. No one wants to be sold to, no one wants to be marketed to. So something around thought leadership and why you're the expert in your industry or why your company is the expert is really important and it helps to build trust. So it's usually a point of view, it's built on your real experience. It could be a case study, it could be some type of a project profile. It could be talking about an issue that's going on in your industry and why it matters. It can even be talking about the basics or fundamentals of what something is and why it exists. We do a lot of work in more industrial sectors. So we do some work in commercial roofing. And Sarah and I were just on a call earlier where we're talking about what is a code? What is a standard? Why does it matter? How do those two things interact together? What does it take to build that? How do you execute it? What's crazy is that's a really technical group of people, and up to that point they had, before working with us, they've been writing really technical, really nerdy, really in-depth roofing code posts and articles. But the articles for them that perform the best are the 101s. What's the high level overview of something in the industry? It doesn't have to be anything crazy. And we don't have enough time today to dive into AEO, GEO, SEO, LLM strategy, all of that. But those types of things also lend themselves really well in the world of search. So, anyways, all that to say, it helps to build trust by showing who you are and how you think, and it gives you an excuse too to throw a little flavor into your content of who you are and what makes you different and what makes you stand out. So one of our favorite prompts and one of our favorite things to think about is write this down, but I think we can also distribute this deck later too, right? Aggie and Christy, awesome. But what do we believe that most people in our industry get wrong? What's misunderstood? What do we need to clarify? We do some work in the auction space too. And auctions are especially real estate auctions. Most people have never gone to a real estate auction. Most people have never experienced a real estate auction. So we see auction industries thrive on writing content and distributing content around the basics of how do I either on the seller side, how do I take my piece of property to auction? And then on the buyer side, how do I buy a property at auction? So just remember what is really obvious to you because you're an expert in your industry is completely foreign to someone else. So sometimes it may seem like it's way too basic. Trust me, it's not. So back to identifying our audience a little more in depth. So making sure that all your content is written for an audience. If you don't have an ideal client profile, there are tons of templates out there to help you do that. Basically, what you're doing is you're stereotyping who your potential client could be or your prospect would be. So you go through and you put down what's their age, what's their demographic, where do they live, are they married, do they have kids, what are their interests, how long have they worked at their company, how did they get promoted to be where they are today, how long have they been in their industry, do they have degrees, do they have certifications? And then when you go through and you create your content, knowing, keeping those specific ICPs in mind, you make sure that your pieces of content are going to resonate with what your ICPs would like to hear. One of our favorite things to do in terms of creating content is solve a problem, solve a pain point. People love to be the word help. Like if I can help you, if I can take something off your plate, let me do that. So that's a great way to think about how to generate good content is how can I, who needs this? And what can I do to make their life easier? How does my product or service, how can I help someone else and make their life a little bit easier and take some stress off their plate? There are some times too, and this is where the magic really happens, is when if you have three ICPs and they all have the same pain point, jackpot, because you can create a piece of content that resonates with all three of them. I'm talking fast, which I know I do. Anyone have any questions so far?
You're
Okay. All
good
right,
on
we're gonna
my
keep
end. You're
going.
doing a great job going through all of this. So,
Okay, it's
yeah,
at breakneck speed.
yeah.
So you may have to watch the recording again at like half speed to fully understand all of the sentences and the words that I'm using, but it's fine. So how to identify your audience. So starting with knowing where they are in the relationship. And where are they in your funnel? Are they a new lead? Are they a warm prospect? Are they a marketing qualified lead? Are they a sales qualified lead? Are they a current client or a past client? I think one of the things that gets overlooked a lot is remarketing to your existing customer base, especially for cross sale of other services. So, if you have a company that has multiple divisions, taking your existing customer list, you almost have to treat it like it could potentially be a new customer list if you're going to cross sell or cross promote something. That's usually a huge opportunity that we see completely overlooked. So back to so understanding where they are in the relationship with you, what do they know about either your company or your service or your industry, getting specific about what they're worried about, how you can help, um, ideal client profiles, and then let that person shape the tone and the channel and the length. You are going to write different content to someone if they're a CEO versus if they are a junior level account manager, for example. They're going to have very different needs, very different pain points. Still could be in the same company, still could need the same type of service that you're offering or product that you're offering, but you're just going to write that a little bit differently. So, making sure that every single one of your pieces of content has some type of a takeaway. Sometimes the takeaway is just we want to make sure that we are showing the community who we are and what we do. So we work with a lot of B2B, more industrial companies, and the the content that tends to perform really well for them is usually around what they're doing in the community, the give back days, the volunteer days, the 40-year work anniversaries, showcasing employees and their talents. That can also be very purpose driven in the sense that you are building overall awareness for the community that you're in and working in and living in. And you're also showing who you are to potential prospects, that you are a company that gives back. That can be really important to some people when they're looking for who they want to engage with or partner with. They want to make sure that your values are aligned. So by showing things like your featuring your employees or your give back days, that shows value and alignment, which is really important. So it can be the finishing the sentence. I want them to walk away knowing that I am charitable and I give back. I want them to walk away knowing that I have 30 years of experience in this. I want them to walk away knowing that this product is really simple to use and can be implemented quickly. All right, so and back to creating this only the purpose is clear. After the purpose is clear, I know we have this in here like 3 or 4 times, but it's very, very important because if you do it the other way around, that's when it can just feel fluffy and it doesn't like there's not any meat on the bones. It's amazing too how you can even have the right visual, you can have the right the brand, the look, the feel. It can all be great, but if the caption isn't quite right or the subject line isn't quite right, that can undermine it. So be very, very attentive to every angle and every aspect of the piece of content that you're creating. It's not just the video, it's not just the photo, it's everything surrounding it. Okay, so one of my other favorite things is work smarter, not harder. So take one piece of content and turn it into like 5 different things. And we're talking about email and social here today. But it's basically you're taking the same thing. Let's say you start with a blog post. We love taking blog posts and then turning them into multiple social posts and even potentially multiple emails. So rather than having to rethink, rather than starting with, I need to create 5 posts for social today, for this month, start with what's the core messaging, what's the core content. Start with the blog post, for example, and then get your emails out of that and get your socials out of that. So one message, two doors, not two different things. It all needs to overlap and have congruency and consistency. The other thing that that will do then is it will, if someone's coming to your website, they're trying to vet who you are. What do we do when we go and we try to vet people? We go look at their websites, we look at their socials, we Google them, we look at reviews. They'll see the same themes then across all the different, your different owned channels, across your website, across your social. If they sign up for your emails, they'll start getting emails from you too. And they'll see themes and they'll see consistency, which helps your brand stick faster. All right. So there's a lot of different channels and platforms that we can be posting on. So let's go through and talk about what this digital ecosystem looks like. This is an extremely boiled down version of what an ecosystem can look like, because you can take any of these and absolutely like go ham on all the different channels and venues. I mean, even LinkedIn alone, there's organic posting. You have you can actually post thought leadership on there now. You can do articles. You can actually disseminate newsletters through there. You can do your recruiting. There's so much you can do through there. But for today, we're going to focus on that. Email marketing. I love email marketing so much, and here's why. All the other platforms that are out there, whether it is social, whether it's search, anything else, you are at the mercy of their algorithm and you cannot change that. In fact, some you'll see content creators that they wake up one day and Instagram has changed the algorithm, or they've banned them or blocked them or something, and they're not showing up in people's posts anymore. Email, you own that, especially if it's a personal email address. I've had the same phone number and email address since high school. It has not changed. So if I have given that out, someone could have owned that now for 20 years. So I love email for that reason, because once you have it, it's theirs. Tricky thing with business emails, people change jobs, they move around. That one can be a little bit trickier. But at the end of the day, you are not subject to someone else's algorithm. You are not subject to someone else's changes they can make on a whim. And they have no obligation or requirement to notify you that they're going to make that change. You just have to deal with it when it happens. So I love email marketing. And then we also have the SEO, AEO, and even the GEO side of things too. And then also our content marketing. So this is our little ecosystem that we're going to sit in here today. So as far as trends to follow, I remember when I was working in an industrial pump company in 2019, and that was right about when TikTok came out. And my boss and everyone was doing the dance videos on it at that point. And I remember my boss brought it to me and he's like, we should be on TikTok. We need to be on TikTok. I'm like, prove me, show me the value. Like, help me explain to me why you think we should be on TikTok other than you think it's cool. Because I'm pretty sure industrial pump engineers in 2019 were not hanging out on TikTok. But that changes very quickly. So, all that to say, even with AI, we are seeing things change so quickly. So these are social trends that you should follow, but we wanted them to be more of higher level, not necessarily here's what the algorithm is doing today. So these are a little bit more timeless. So short form video will still win, but the format is starting to stretch, especially if it's something around thought leadership, and content around that. Reels up to 20 minutes, shorts up to 3. People will watch those if it's something that they're engaged in. Also, audiences want to know when AI is involved. And so use it in the process, but keep the voice human. So I can't tell you how many conversations I've had around AI, as I'm sure everybody has. I mean, if I had a dime for the word every time I heard the word agentic said this year, like I would have retired by now. But that's all the rage, right? But we also are now starting to see all kinds of content that's out there that's clearly AI generated. Shoot, there's a house for sale behind me, and some poor realtor, I went and looked this guy up because he's old. I don't think he knows how to use image modifying. And he tried to clean up the image of this house that's for sale. And it is very clearly a bad AI job. So bad that I actually thought about reaching out to him and being like, sir, you need to adjust this. But people want to know that. And so there's nothing wrong with using AI in your processes. There's not. It's funny for someone who owns a really, I mean, we do a lot of technology, we do a lot of HubSpot implementations for CRMs and management. We live in this digital space day in and day out. I'm a very relational, personable human. I mail out physical journals and handwritten notes. Like I want to meet people in person. I love breaking bread. I think you get to know people when you spend time with them in person. I was at a golf outing on Monday and someone in my foursome was on her phone a good chunk of the day and it was driving me nuts because I'm like, we have time, precious time to build relationships with people and spend the time one on one. So, but that also being said, I personally kind of wrestled with AI when it came out because I'm like, what is this doing? It's another tool in your toolbox, and it is a very helpful tool when it comes to content and content creation. So I would encourage you to use it in the creation of your content, or even helping you map out. Take your ideal client profiles, give them to Claude, and say, "Hey, based on this, what are some based on these ICPs? What are similar pain points? And help me come up with some content that I should be creating. Help me with this plan." But make sure that you're still keeping it very human and it is still very you at the end of the day because people can smell when something isn't authentic or disingenuous. Also, there's tons of people out there that have uh, followings of less than 5,000 people, and they make six, seven figures on it just in terms of content creators. I don't know if anyone in here makes their living off of content creation alone. Um, Most of us use it to supplement social, to supplement our businesses. But at the end of the day, viral posts are great, they're cool, but what do they actually do? If going viral means that you get to get your product in front of more people who are qualified to buy it, then that's great. But if not, then just more eyeballs went on it, and that's cool. So I would rather see something that is very specific and that you have a deep engagement with your audience than something that's just like viral for going viral. Real people always outperform the polish. I think about my dad who sits around and watches like the down and dirty railroad videos that are like railroad engineers posting videos of trains and all this other stuff. None of it is polished. None of it is like beautiful. It is down and dirty, but people love the behind the scenes of how things are done and how things are made. I mean, shoot, I toured a toilet factory, like how toilets are actually made, and I was like, this would be the coolest. Like if I could manage this social account, this could be so much fun. So don't be afraid to lean into it and have a little bit of fun because life is short. And now I just found this out. People, the youth, are not saying Google it. They are saying search it up. So because they are not just using Google now, they're searching it up on ChatGPT, they're searching it up on Claude and Gemini. So making sure that and on social too. So making sure that you have content that's available that can be read by all of the different platforms out there is really important. FAQ pages always perform so well. FAQ, if you start with an FAQ page on your website, turn that to social content. That's a huge, we see that as a huge consistent win across the board. All right, so some email trends to follow. We are seeing a huge shift in email right now, and the pendulum swings around. So there for a while, it was send out one email a week, but with one piece of content. Then it went to newsletters and send out the monthly newsletter with all of your content. Now we're kind of back to the send it out kind of one at a time as something is relevant, mixed with newsletters, and no one will ever be able to answer for you what the right cadence is and the right amount of content is except for you because everybody's audiences are different. So for us as a company, what works really well is we send a newsletter every other month. It is realistic. It's something that we can manage. It's basically a kind of a highlight reel of our top performing pieces of content that we've already created. And it gives us an opportunity to showcase some other things that we may not normally be able to fit into our content schedules. So, for example, we feature what's a favorite book that we're reading right now, what's a favorite podcast. If I've been speaking somewhere, who knows? Maybe this webinar will show up in there as a recap. It's basically a place for us to put things that we would like to have, make sure that people see. And remember too, just because you put it on social doesn't mean someone's going to see it. Some people don't go on social at all. So that's why it's important to have a mix of email and social. Some people will only go on social and they won't read news emails. So don't never assume that just because you put it on one platform, it's going to be seen by people on both platforms. Yes. So with email metrics, and Sarah can probably talk to this better than I can if anyone has any questions, but basically AI is starting to read emails before people do. So we are starting to see big skews and weird numbers in terms of open rates, click rates, etc. Basically with how tightly also just spam filters that we've had to put on all of our emails just because of the amount of spam that we get every day. Our spam filters are automatically opening emails and they're testing the links. So it could come back and show that it is a open or someone engaged when they really didn't. It was more AI or it was a spam filter trying to make sure that it was legit and caught it. So just as a heads up, that's one little caveat with email that can be a little bit tricky. But relevance beats your perfect timing. So sometimes something will happen in the news and you got to change your plan. When I did a lot of work in roofing, when Hurricane Irma went through Florida, it was supposed to hit land. I think it was Sunday night. We caught wind of it, no pun intended, on Thursday. Friday, I spent all day, I took my entire team and said, stop what you're doing. Because I worked for a company that made industrial coated fabric. Stop what we're doing. Right now, we went and bought like 1-800 call Irma or something like that. We went and bought an 800 number. We built a landing page. The product team was already starting to throw product onto the trucks to send down to Florida. We started doing social posts. We created forms and we sent out newsletters. We sent out an email to everybody that was in the Florida market saying, hey, here's what you need to do to prepare. Here's how you can prep your property. This was commercial buildings, but here's how you can prep your commercial building property for the incoming hurricane. Here's what you need to be doing. And so sometimes you have to, that was great timing because it was so relevant. No one was working in Florida that Thursday, Friday, and even Saturday. They were all trying to figure out how they were going to survive this hurricane and protect their assets. So sometimes you have to make sure that you stay in touch with what's going on in the world and making sure that just because you had that perfect piece of content planned to go out on that day, being mindful of what's going on, double checking your content. It is nice to set it and forget it, but sometimes you can't always do that. Um, let's see here. And oh, another thing we're seeing too is the info at emails that we all like to use and send or marketing at. Those tend to not perform as well as one-to-one emails. So we send our newsletter out from my email address, which is actually great too, because then people will reply back to me and they'll say, hey, like, really love this newsletter, or hey, way to go, blah, blah, blah. You also get all the out of offices or all the ones that are like so and so no longer works at this company and you can now remove them from your list. Great. So we use that as another way to keep our list scrubbing going to keep that really clean. Um, so making sure you have a crawl, walk, run plan. Um, that's one of my phrases I use all the time. I know Sarah can attest to that, but I'd rather see rather than just like running as fast as you can, as furiously as you can in a direction that you don't even know where you're going. I'd rather see you crawl, take a little bit of time, make sure you're doing this right, make sure you're mastering it correctly, make sure everybody's going in the same direction. Then you start to walk. You get maybe start posting a little more often, or you've tested out some content and now you're starting to feel more confident in what you're creating. And then you can move on to running when you feel comfortable and you've built up your lung capacity for it. So keep it simple. I'm actually going to jump through these just given our time because holy smokes, this is flying by. So where we see plans breaking down. So too many topics in one email or post. Everything cannot be all things to all people. One thing. And remember, if you've got too many things in one post, that's actually great. That gives you an excuse to break it out and put it into other pieces of content. So that's awesome. Um, Chasing trends instead of staying useful and on brand. Don't just because someone else is doing it or this drives me nuts when someone says, "Oh, I see my competitor is doing da 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 da." Cool, your competitor is not you. Like people are not buying from them for the same reasons that they might buy from you. So just because someone else is doing that doesn't mean that you need to chase your tail doing the exact same thing. Um, this one we see not only just in social, but across the board in marketing, posting consistently or not intentionally, and then you give up and you say it's not working. We see that across the board with marketing in general. People give up too soon. It just takes time to vet who your audience is, what your value proposition is, what your purpose is. your cadence, your frequency. There are so many variables to experiment with. If you give up too soon, you'll never know. And then also making sure that you are overlapping your email and your social. They're very connected together, and they should be. And actually, if you do social really well, for example, that can basically feed what your emails are. So, like I mentioned with our newsletters earlier, some of it's a little bit of a highlight reel of what content we already knew performed well. So use your social as a way to go through and vet that out. And then you basically just take all of that, dump it into a recap, and off you go. You're not sitting there scratching your head going, oh, shoot, we need to send out a newsletter. What should we create? And then making sure you go through and you take a look and assess and look back at what performed well and why. I did a little quick video last year about this time. I had gone through 2 rounds of trying to find an executive assistant and to no avail. And so I was like, fine, I gave the recruiter one more shot. I'm like, go find someone. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to dinner. I'm just gonna post a real quick video that just says, hi, my name's Michelle. I'm looking for an executive assistant. Here's the link to apply. Here's the nature of our company. If you or anyone you know you think would be a good fit, please share this with them. And I posted it, didn't think of it, anything of it, went to dinner. I came back and it had like 9,000 views, which most of my stuff usually gets 2 or 3,000 views. 48 hours later, it had 70,000 views. And I was like, oh crap. Because then all of a sudden it almost backfired because then we got absolutely inundated with applications. But I couldn't figure out why the heck this thing went viral until some kind soul reshared it and put in some commentary about this is so authentic and so raw and so real and so vulnerable to see the person that you'll actually be working for posting that video. We never see that. We never know who the executive is that we're working for. And I was like, aha, thank you. Like sometimes people can also answer that for you. You don't have to figure that out on your own. And in that case, that lovely, lovely person did that for me. All right, 10-step content plan. Everyone's hands tired from taking notes. So you ready to take some more? Because we're gonna rock through these pretty quickly. All right. So do an audit of what you already have. One of my other favorite things to do is what if you have a customer service team, ask them what the questions are that they're getting asked all the time. That's a great source of content. That can go into your FAQs, that can go into your content, that can do all kinds of stuff. But also look back through. If you are already posting, look at your last 90 days of posts, see what worked, see what didn't, see what got absolutely no traction. Pick your core themes. We love doing quarterly themes because it gives us a way to like very nicely map things out throughout the year. It gives us the opportunity to pivot and change then if we don't need, if something's not working how we want, or if something else comes up. So pick some themes that you can sustain. Set the purpose for each theme. So what is it that you're doing? So client wins, for example, that can pair very well with building thought leadership and trust. Identify the audience for each theme. Who do you want to be getting this? Why should they be receiving it? Why does it matter? Build the calendar skeleton. So doesn't have to be anything fancy. We're a HubSpot Platinum partner. Shameless about that. I found HubSpot in 2014 as a way for me to start to actually show what my marketing efforts were generating and a way to roll them all up together. I'm a big fan of it. And when I started my company, I quickly became a partner. Now we're a Platinum partner. They have a social calendar built into their marketing hub. And so you're able to put all of your content in there. You can schedule it all and you can even run it past people for approval if you want. So that way, if you have someone who's newer to your team and you want everything to get approved by someone before it goes live, you can do that. So start putting together a calendar. Shoot, open an Excel sheet if you feel like it and just start putting together what some themes are and listing out some dates. It doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't have to be pretty. It has to be impactful. Draft what your pillar piece is. So I use the example of the blog post all the time. It could also be one longer form piece of content. So if you're doing a webinar like this, that could be what your piece is. And then you turn around and you take the transcript and you write a blog post from it. I'm just telling you what we're probably going to do with all of this. You turn around, you write a blog post from it. You can slice it up into shorter reels and shorter pieces. You can put those on different platforms. You can then do a link to it in your upcoming email newsletter. There's all kinds of stuff. So take a long form piece of content and that can sustain you for a very, very long time. Also, LinkedIn allows you to post for free, by the way. You can just post any type of thought leadership you want. And LinkedIn is very grateful. In fact, I get emails from them that are like, can you post more, please? Because it's good for them. It's good for their algorithm. It's good for their value if they have people that are posting good content on there. Then take everything and, like I just said, repurpose it all into social posts. Pick like one stat. We love like one big number. 98% of people feel that blah, blah, blah should happen. Or one quote, pick one impactful quote and put it up there. Behind the scenes is another great one. The auction industry loves this. How are things organized? How are they inventoried? How are they cataloged? How does it work? How did this come to be? It's amazing what you think people may not be interested in for you and your business, but people are actually very interested in it. You can use Answer the Public. That's another good one where you see what people are looking for, the website. But then go back through, pair all of that with some type of an email, let people know it happened. Schedule and batch. This is big. Load the month in one sitting instead of daily. It's a nice idea to think that you're going to go in every day or every week and like build content, but life happens. Stuff comes up. An email comes in that you didn't expect. A client calls and has a meltdown about something. Stuff happens. So set aside time in a bigger chunk to do that. If you are the kind of person that can go in every day and just be posting willy-nilly, I mean, more power to you. I just have yet to see anybody that can do that really, really consistently and really thoughtfully. Um, Keep reviewing and repeat back what you did before, and then try out some things and don't be afraid to fail. You never know what could land and what could not land. So at the end of the day, content will help to build relationships, which is the goal, right? People do business with people they like, know, and trust. That's why they do business with people. So use this. This is another vehicle for you for relationship building. It helps you build trust with someone before you even have the chance to have a conversation with them. The old statistic 5 years ago was that people were 65% of the way through their buying process before they ever reached out to you. The numbers I'm hearing now are like 85 to 90% because there's so much content and there's so many things out there that people can look at and review before they're even ready to buy or they reach out to you. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's B2B, it doesn't matter if it's B2C, it is H to H, human to human. So use your content to build relationships and to build trust. This is not meant to replace people. AI is not, I don't think it's going to be a replacement right now. It is another team member. It is a tool. There are some areas where it could offer replacements, but for now, it's another team member on your team. It's a tool you can use. And at the end of the day, the relationships are what we're building. So that has not changed. That will not change. And quite frankly, I think the companies, my prediction is that the companies that are able to leverage the technology within their business and keep the human side of it there, those are the ones that are going to win. The ones that rush too far ahead into like, we're just going to automate everything and remove all the personalized human experience, I think those are the ones that are actually not going to do well. That's my prediction. So use technology in a very intentional and deliberate way to help to build relationships. So I've been given very wrong answers before by ChatGPT. And at the bottom of ChatGPT, it says, please check all your facts because it may be wrong. Well, it's been very wrong for me many times because it's sourcing content from the internet, which can be very wrong, especially Reddit. We've all gone down Reddit rabbit holes and we're like, oh my gosh, the people that are commenting on here, they walk this earth and they got in their car today and they drove somewhere and I don't know how they function, but all right, cool. That's what's providing answers sometimes. So you know your team, you know your audience, you know your content, you know your company better than AI will. So use it as a way to help stimulate ideas. Another one of my favorite prompts to use for AI is what did I miss? What did I forget? What did I not include? So, for example, you can take your mission, vision, values, put your website in there as a prompt, put in your ICPs, ask it to help to generate, we use Claude, we're heavy Claude users, ask it to help generate some sample content for you, but then go back through and really you have to look at it and you have to decide, does this actually work for who our clients are? And if you're using AI for emails, for example, if you send out an email and who cares if you wrote it or AI wrote it, someone else wrote it, it's still a reflection of you and your brand and your company. So you still need to read everything very, very, very thoroughly. So make sure everything still gets a human touch. Don't fully rely on it. All right, who's seen a piece of content and thought, oh, that's definitely AI? Yeah, we all have. Like, there's some bad stuff that's out there. Um, Keep your hand raised if that affected your opinion of the post and or brand. You're like, oh man, that sucks. Yep. Yeah, thank you. I'm not alone in that. Um, So for AI to right now, there's always some use cases that may vary, but we believe the best place for it is in your content as a first draft. So can get you 80% of the way there. I think about how much time we've saved as a company over the last year by utilizing AI to help us get further out, but it's only as good as what you prompt. It's only as good as the structure that you give it. And it's only as good as what it can find and what you can provide for it. So you still have to make sure that you're looking at it and you're reviewing it and you are, um, it's still you. It's still you at the end of the day. So, does everybody in here have a CRM of some kind? It could be Zoho, Salesforce, HubSpot. I already said we're big HubSpot people. If you are, moment for the HubSpot people, if you are in HubSpot, especially in the Marketing Hub, you have everything you need. The Marketing Professional Hub version, you have everything you need right now. Wow, thumbs down. Thanks AI for that. That's helpful. I don't know if anyone just saw that on my on my screen. Um, but it's you have the ability in there to write your emails, and actually HubSpot has you have the ability to actually do a remix in there too. That's in the content hub, where it can actually take that blog post for you and make 3 social posts for you and generate the email, and it will actually build all of that for you within the platform already. So you don't even have to leave and go come up with other things to do. And it can also now, because it's also connected, there's connectors for Claude and Chat GPT. You can even use it to cross-reference other data and other things that you already have performance and analytics on to see if something's going to perform well or not. So it will look at past email opens and social engagement and deal patterns if you have Sales Hub and the sales pipeline. So most people, it's exciting as business owners. People try to sell us things all the time, right? Like this one shiny object over here is going to solve all of your problems. But the biggest thing we see is people just get distracted and then they've made a very nice collection of shiny objects and they're not actually doing anything with them. So make sure you're using what you already have. If you don't have HubSpot, even just for social posting, like Sprout Social, you can go in there and get a license or two. Go in and just use what you've got. Um, you don't necessarily need a new tool. So we do have a little feature here of Boz just to show how we utilize our own, everything we just said here today. But I want to make sure we have enough time for questions too. Zoho and Wealthbox CRM is another one that's recommended. All right, I'm going to go through this kind of quickly and then we'll have a little bit of time for questions at the end. So basically, what we do is we start with some long form content. We're heavy on the usage of client and employee testimonials because those we found have performed really well. And then using accurate brand positioning. We then are able to create aligned content with consistent messaging. We have quotes and stories pulled directly from team experience, and then we can build content based on past success. What that does is then we're able to create engagement where team members, shout out to Ryan because he's awesome at this actually, like, comment, and share their own posts. And I cannot tell you how many times I've stood up in front of clients and I'm like, please engage with your company's content. Because what that does is then it allows for it to get into the algorithm. It gets in, and then everybody who engages with it, it can potentially show up in to their followers and other people in their network too. So it's really important that you like, comment, reshare, and engage with content that your company is creating. And then as a result, then we've gotten significant growth in their post interactions, specifically comments. And we've seen growth across the board in terms of their audience, their interactions, their clicks, website visits, etc. This is really their first go at like doing a full-blown marketing strategy and execution consistently and across the board, across the whole digital ecosystem. And it definitely shows they're seeing the results of it. So here's an example social calendar. This is the one that we have in HubSpot. So this is just what a little calendar can look like. Very much a calendar. I don't think I need to explain this. Um, and then here's how we then take, here's some example marketing emails. This isn't for Boz specifically, but um, there's samples in here of different things. But if you see how simple all of these are, that's the direction that we're starting to see things go now, where it's just one very clear piece of content with one very clear directive in here. And then for Boz, some of the educational social posts that we have are educational posts, team member highlights, and then case study content. So they're in a space where we're able to get numbers, which numbers perform great. Lists, numbers, percentages, that type of stuff always tends to perform really well. So showing 33% annual savings, for example, is a great example of one that we were able to see. But if you look at all of these posts across the board too, they all have kind of a similar look, theme, color scheme. You can tell it's a Boz post before you even see if there's a logo attached to it. All right. So at the end of the day, create content that stands out. This is when I saw this come from my team, I was so excited because I'm like, this is so cool. Maybe because I had a phone very similar to this as my first phone. It was the Nextel push to talk, if you guys remember the walkie-talkie. Um, yeah, anyways, so technology has changed significantly in the last 30 years. We've been here for every shift, providing the trusted experience, expense management, businesses need to maintain operational order. So a little nostalgia. I'm a very nostalgic girl. I'm a millennial, in case you can't tell. A little humor, that type of stuff is way more memorable than just another flat, like, here's what we did today. A lot of content that we see put out, we call it, it has a wee problem. It's all about what we're doing. Da, da, da. It has to be about your audience, it has to be about who they are, what they need, what they want, what's going to resonate with them. So here's what you're going to do in your next 30 days. You're going to audit your last 90 days if you are already posting or sending emails, and pick 2 or 3 themes that you've seen perform well. Or add in a theme that you haven't included yet, but you want to. Make sure you have it planned. Map 1 month on a simple calendar, date, theme, channel, over and over again. You can even include a little description too if you want for what you think could go into the post, if you have some ideas or things like that. Then write one pillar piece and break it into posts and emails. Work smarter, not harder. Batch and schedule the month. Sit down and do it. And then review what landed before you build next month's content. And it's a constant iteration of reviewing and approving and reviewing and approving, because it can change, and it does. It will change time to time. All right, we have a digital marketing audit checklist. If you want to scan that QR code and download it, or it'll also be in the deck later if you'd like. It's just a little 2-page checklist so you can go through and start seeing what you've already got. All right. That was
Awesome,
54
Michelle.
minutes of Michelle talking fast and furiously
Yeah,
about a lot
no,
of
that
things.
was
So,
awesome. I had if anybody has questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, or say them out loud. I have one question, or two-part question, about email marketing, because that's one of the ones that we get often when our clients are talking about marketing, and the one that I think we even struggle internally at Athena is like, what is a good cadence for that H2H email marketing to minimize the unsubscribes? Because I'm assuming we're not talking about sending multiple emails a week or whatever, like you talked about content and whatnot. And what type of content would typically be sent via email marketing to avoid being the one of 150 emails that we get every single day? One of which I was reading this morning, which was so freaking cheesy. I was like, wow, like people don't even take the time to figure out what it is that we do anymore. They just send a batch email. And my favorite is the my colleague so and so said I should reach out to you, and then there is a
ooh,
fake email at the bottom that says, so it's like, what are best practices in terms of email marketing, which you love so much?
yes. A couple of things. One of the mistakes we see too is take into consideration what is being sent out across the board at the entire company. So some people, their service teams are sending out their own newsletters, and their sales teams are sending out their own newsletters, and the product teams are sending out their own emails. And so if you look, you really need to get a view across, if you're a larger organization, getting a view across the whole organization of who's sending emails. I'm not talking personalized one-to-one. I mean, like, we usually see it with product. If there's a lot of different divisions, one person may want to get updates, but they don't want to get 8 different updates from 8 different companies or 8 different divisions consistently. So make sure to check that. We didn't have enough time for this today, but buyer's journeys are a big deal. So going through and mapping out and understanding what your prospects are going through as they are evaluating utilizing your company, all the way from before they even know they have a need up to when they buy. And then you map up your emails and your content with that buyer's journey. So marketing, for example, can be a great way. Marketing emails can be a good way to warm people up, warm up potential leads, because they may sign up to receive emails from you before they're ready to actually make a purchase because they want to start evaluating who you are and what you do and what you're about. So if you go through and you look at your website, we could spend a whole nother hour on this. But if you go through and you look at your website and you start to look at your different pages and you start to understand what's each one of these pages for, who is it for, what is it about, and then you can understand that if someone's going to sign up to receive, I don't know, they want to get your blog updates, for example. Anytime you post a new blog, they want to receive an email that has a link to it. That may be, and you may find that that's someone that's typically more of a marketing qualified lead than a sales qualified lead. Um, and then delivering content that would match, that's not as intrusive. It's not a buy now. It's more of a like, hey, here's some industry updates or things that are going on. Or one of the pieces that we use is like, here's some, if you happen to be looking for another agency to work with or another firm, marketing firm, here's some things you should consider as you're looking through. So think about how you could help walk them through that process. um, that's the biggest thing, is like buyer's journeys and journey mapping is a really good way to do that and understand what type of content's going to land and when. It's a good
Any other
question.
questions?
Can I give a quick testimonial?
Of
Go
course,
for it.
Mark.
Okay. All right. So a couple of numbers that are really important to me. 1,500 is number one, and 6,000. A year ago, we had 50 companies that we were targeting to try to do work with. Today, we have 1,500 in HubSpot. We had maybe 200 people we were trying to reach out to. We have about 6,000 now. I have been blown away by how I've been helped by both Athena and Creativate in the last year. I feel like we have a fighting chance in something that was so wholly overwhelming to us a year ago, that we now have we have a group of people trying to help us, and I feel like we've got a chance. And so if you are on the cusp of thinking maybe we should talk to Creativate a little bit more, I would implore you to do it. You'll walk away better informed. And so Michelle and Sarah, Aggie and Chris, like just these are two vital organizations that have changed the game for us in the last year, and I couldn't be more thankful. So thank you, both of you, for all your help in this process.
Michelle, I'll do the clip of Ryan saying that about the two of us and about our both of our companies, and we can start posting it all over the place.
I mean,
Testimonial content. Let's go. Yeah.
I get emotional about it because I'm a small business. Like I'm working as a liaison. I'm working on technical work. I'm willing on. I can't do this by myself, and I just, man, I'm so blessed and fortunate to have this team's help.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for entrusting us. 'Cause that's the other thing too, is it's no small thing to bring someone into your company. These can be very, I say it's like peeling back layers of an onion. Sometimes you don't know what's broken, and sometimes you have to have really hard conversations. So thank you for
Mm,
entrusting us with that.
yeah.
Ooh, Athena keeps me sane in the chaos. I like that. Love that,
So many
Jennifer.
quotable moments. Thanks, Jen.
I know. Thanks, everyone. Gosh.
If only we had a marketing company that could help us develop this stuff.
Exactly.
Awesome. Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. This was like a power hour for sure, with so many great things. And appreciate you also volunteered to send us slides, because we were getting lots of messages as this session was going, with people not being able to attend, and making sure that the recording and the slides were sent, because as I said, marketing is that big question mark for many people. And to all of you that joined us today, thank you so much for coming, participating, speaking up, and we'll see you on the next one in September.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for spending your time with us today.